Congressman Latham was born in Alexander, Iowa, a town of 168 people in Franklin County. He and his wife Kathy raised their family just down the road from the family business and a family century farm. Tom is a proud farmer and former small business owner with his brother Latham Seeds, a soybean farming operation and facility that was founded by his late father, Willard Latham, in 1947, and is now being run by the third generation of the family, the true Iowa family success story. Tom is driven by the belief that Washington would work much better with a good dose of Iowa common sense. He strives every day to put people before politics and progress before partnerships. While serving Iowa in Congress, Tom has earned a strong reputation of working with colleagues on both sides of the political aisle to achieve common sense results. Tom knows what it takes to make a payroll, grow a business, and keep a farming operation productive because he's done it. His number one priority for fighting for priorities and promoting job growth and a strong economy. Tom's comprehensive regulatory reform legislation eliminates outdated, costly regulations and make Washington bureaucrats listen to the voice of the people, bringing certainty back to American workplace and opening the door for massive job creation. Tom has supported the balanced budget amendment, and that takes away Washington's blank check mentality, and he knows that for cutting spending and controlling the budget. Generations of Iowa rely on Social Security and Medicaid as the foundation of their retirement plan and safety net. Tom also always votes to uphold Social Security and Medicare as contracts between America and the federal government. Tom has been a champion of issues important to Iowa veterans. He wrote the law extending the health care benefits to the National Guard and reserve members of their families, regardless of their deployment status. Tom spends every day working hard to improve the lives of Iowans, to protect the promise of the American dream for our children and grandchildren. He's an optimistic vision in the potential for the security and bright future of every American at every stage of life. With further ado, Congressman Tom Latham.
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction, just like I wrote it. But it is great to be with you this morning and to have the opportunity to visit with you, try to respond, answer questions a little later on. But I guess, first of all, if you're not familiar with me, and the introduction, I think, gave a lot of my background, but in Washington, I chair the Transportation and HUD Subcommittee on Appropriations. I also serve on Ag, FDA Appropriations, and Homeland Security. Being on the Appropriations Committee is a little different. They always the word, there's Republicans, and then there's the Democrats, and then there are appropriators. And the reason for that is because we actually have to get stuff done. We actually have to work together. I had my bill, the Transportation HUD bill, on the floor 2 weeks ago. It took 3 days. It's different now from what the previous Congress was, and people are actually able to have amendments. In the previous Congress, they were closed rules where people couldn't offer amendments. So it took 3 days to get through that process, but we ended up with a strong bipartisan vote that actually cut about $4 billion of spending just in my one bill. And just to get a perspective, I think, of size, the state budget for Iowa is about $6 billion a year. My bill itself is $120 billion. So it's my one of the 12 appropriation bills is 20 times larger than the whole budget for the state of Iowa. But we did, in fact, have the largest reduction in spending in that bill of any of the appropriations bills. And again, I'm very proud of the fact that we worked together on a bipartisan basis. Mr. Alver from Massachusetts, who is my ranking member on that subcommittee, brags about the fact that he is the most liberal member from Massachusetts. Okay. And with Barney Frank and with that whole delegation, that's really saying something. But, he's very proud of that fact, but we do work together. He supported the bill, and we were able to move that. We have a great opportunity, I think, right here. Iowa is exceptional. have our unemployment considerably, about 3 points at least less than the national average. We have growth, we have people, and due largely to our agricultural base in the state. And we continue to have very good, prosperous times until this drought has hit now. But for agriculture to be very, very strong has helped lift the entire economy. We've got to have that happen nationwide. Right now, unfortunately, we have policies in place. We have a national debt, and if you look at what's happened the last 4 years, the national debt has increased by $5 trillion. We're up to nearly $16 trillion of debt. It simply is not sustainable. We've had 4 years now where the deficit will be well over $1 trillion. Unheard of. There's never been half that much in any budget prior to the last 4 years. We've got to stop the spending. When you look at what's holding back the economy nationwide, it's the fact that we do have that huge debt out there, those huge annual deficits, that we have uncertainty because of the tax code. And you're aware that at the end of this year, the current tax law expires, which would mean tremendous increases in our marginal tax rates, capital gains tax rates, in dividends. The costs of the president's health care bill kick into effect as far as dramatic increases in taxes on your payroll deduction, as far as surcharges on top, excuse me, of capital gains and dividends. The largest tax increase in the history of the world with the president's health care bill, let alone letting the expiration of the current tax law happen in a year. That uncertainty, coupled with the fact that we have an overactive regulatory scheme in Washington today. So if you're a small business person, you don't know what to do. If you're going to invest in your business, if you're going to hire more people, are you going to be punished for doing that? You don't know what the next regulation coming down the pipe is going to have, the effect it will have on your business. All of that uncertainty is causing nationally people to hold back, not spend money, not invest, not hire people. There's about $2 trillion of cash sitting in corporate hands today that would be invested if, in fact, there was certainty coming out of Washington. And that's why it's extremely important that we work together this fall to make sure that there is certainty to extend the current tax law, to have some type of certainty as far as the regulatory schemes, and that's why they mentioned that the bill that I have as far as regulatory reform would be extremely important and beneficial to the economy, simply because there would be that certainty out there that you wouldn't have this overreach in the federal government. When we have, excuse me, when we have a situation with reapportionment this year, in Iowa goes from 5 to 4 seats in Congress. I think one of the most important issues that we need to talk about is who's going to be effective in Washington. Who is going to actually go there and get things accomplished for the state of Iowa. And that is what this is all about. We're going to have one less voice. We need people there who will be strong, who are able to accomplish things, to actually work in the system, work across the aisle like I've had to do, and I enjoy doing all the time, to get things actually done. And that's why I think this election is extraordinarily critical. We will have a clear choice in this election. When you look at voting records, there is no question that there are very, very strong differences.